Right on, guys. Yeah, thanks for the advice. And Jeff, I learned a lot from that. We're going to move on now to Sierra. So where are you, Sierra? Uh, Giving you the mic. Do you want to introduce yourself and what you submitted today?
Hi. Yes, can you hear me?
You can. Hi, Sierra.
Yes. So my name is Sierra Bedleon. I'm a business development rep with a company called Career Minds, and we sell outplacement services. And for those of you who don't know what outplacement is, it's to help with layoffs, mergers, acquisitions, and help the employees that are affected by it transition into new roles in different companies.
Cool.
Awesome.
So, let me go ahead.
Yeah. So tell us about this one here.
Yeah, so I know that I think it was Scott mentioned at the beginning, you found that your open rates have significantly increased since COVID by like 30 some percent. I too have found that as well. And what I'm finding works is a lot of personalization. Now, I know we touched on the last presentation of how being brief and short, but when you're selling into HR, which is what I do, they are people. They're people persons. They love to talk, so they're relatable. So for me, what's working is personalization. You know, in this particular email, I did my research. I showed them, hey, I looked up something that I could tie to what's happening in your company, and I opened with that. So calling out that I know that they had one of their biggest acquisitions in history, and I wanted to tell them, that's something we can help with.
Mhm.
This particular person actually engaged in some content from one of our webinars. So I knew, okay, someone at this company is interested. I'm going to use the tactic of congratulating them on something they've recently achieved for the company. I actually made this a sequence to target other companies as well. And in this one, I wanted to let them know a huge client that we've worked with through mergers and acquisitions. Stars Entertainment, something very recognizable by a lot of people. So I chose that to kind of lead with in my opening. And again, I wanted to tie it to I know that you engaged in some content. Doesn't mean that they were going to necessarily do furloughs or layoffs,
Yep.
but something sparked their interest. So I wanted to call that out as well. Um, and again, I didn't know their business situation. So that's kind of where my closing came in. I just wanted to kind of introduce them to Career Minds and our outplacement service and how we're different than most of our competitors, and ask them for 5 or 10 minutes of their time just to have that introduction. And again, closing, um, human resources says the company is made up of its people, and that's what makes a company successful. So I wanted to call them out too, that human resources are heroes of companies because they're the ones seeking and managing that talent to make the company successful. So that's where my closing came in.
Right on. And well, thanks for that, Sierra. And what about the response rate on this one? So what is your typical response rate on this particular email?
On this particular email,
Mhm.
I'm getting a 17.9% response rate, which is not bad. I just started this sequence probably about 2.5 weeks ago.
Okay.
And what I'm doing is at the beginning, changing it to something I'm finding on the company. It could have been that they were recognized in the healthcare industry as one of the top 20 hospitals in the country. So that's where I would change that part and keeping we've helped people through mergers and acquisitions with Stars Entertainment, etc. So my response rate, yeah, is about 17.9. My open rate is actually 84%. So I targeted 4 people within HR, not knowing who manages it, Typically, I like to go after CHROs or VPs because at the end of the day, they're signing off on outplacement.
Yeah.
They may not be managing it directly. So sometimes you have to go after a few people in the company. And yeah, my open rate is 84%, which is extremely high
Mhm.
because on average, an open rate for some of my sequences and maybe.
So what for 84% open rate, what's your subject line? Because we didn't see that in your submission.
Yep, my subject line was literally congrats on your UVU acquisition. Um, and then again, like when I change it, congrats on being recognized by Forbes. And I always put their name in the title as well of the subject line. So I said in this one, Heidi dash congrats on your UVU acquisition with an exclamation.
Cool. Oh, thanks, Sierra. So I'll pass it off to the panel now. So give me one sec. There we go. All right, guys, have at her.
I love it. First off, it's a strong email, and thank you for the submission. And doing this kind of one-to-one personalization, each and every one is definitely going to be effective. Sometimes you need a mix of this hyper personalization and a little more automation. A few things that stand out to me. Again, it is quite long. Still, I do like the PS. Humanizing yourself a little bit. That's awesome. I would push up the fact that they've engaged in content as like the very first thing. So I would say, hey, I saw you recently engaged with this content that we shared around furloughs and layoffs. But more importantly, I stumbled upon this article that Dana acquired OVO, which is big news, and then bang, go into it. I would put that front and center. That's a big thing. That's some pretty heavy intent if they're engaging with your content. So put that front and center. Don't bury it in the second email. When I look at your fluffy your CTA at the bottom, and I'm going to try and demonstrate this. If Max says sends me, we're talking, right? And then at the end he says, we should get a beer sometime this week or next. I don't actually believe Max and I are going to get a beer sometime in the next week or next. I think that's a throwaway sentence that he's just like, kind of being nice. But if Max says at the end, hey, dude, this has been awesome. Let's grab a beer next Wednesday at 7 p.m. I'm going to be like, oh, that's definitely happening. Okay, let's do that. So that's trying to highlight the difference between more kind of assertive language when you're asking for something. So are you free sometime this week or next? Change that to be more direct. And then one more thing. Oh, Bilal, who I think we're going to have as one of the guests next time that we do this, because he's got some great points and is very much in line with some of the things that I'm thinking is. So we talked about last time about making the prospect the hero in the story. There's also this really powerful thing that you can do when you make a common enemy together. So think about who the common enemy is that you're fighting. Is it the status quo? Is it people getting furloughed and then talking bad about your company? Whatever the enemy is, try and create that, because then you're automatically on the same team, and can be a good way to highlight a point. David Premier has great content on this. Great point, Bilal.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And Scott, what you said is what my initial response to this was. One, it does appear to be a bit longer than I'd prefer it is. I would 100%. The second paragraph is captivating to me, at least like in terms of the strategy that you've employed here. So the highest trigger strategy or like response rates are to self-authored content, things that they've engaged with, self-attributed traits, if you can find those, right? People call them out on their LinkedIn profiles. Some people have wacky titles. Some people have weird headlines. Like I think Phil Libin for the CEO of Evernote, who recently launched another company and product, says, I do stuff, or I break things. So it's just a unique opportunity for you to engage with them. And it's traits that they've attributed to themselves. So it's things that they clearly feel passionate about. In this case, engaged content, it's a huge trigger for them to respond with. So like Scott said, I'd bump that up to the top of this email. And if the last sentence of your opening paragraph, we've helped clients such as Stars through their mergers and acquisitions. I think it's interesting. I might drop that down lower in the email and specifically speak to outcomes that you help them achieve by way of helping them. So like, what did you do to help these people? Or what outcomes did you help them realize by being involved with that process and supporting them throughout? But I think I might open, honestly, with your third paragraph. You're calling out, to Scott's point and what Bilal was saying, the importance, like what outcome do we want to achieve? We want our employees to feel valued. We want them to feel supported. And as a business with a brand that we need to maintain, we want to make sure that we're avoiding slander and like mudslinging on our name. Like Scott was saying, creating an enemy out of a negative outcome and an adverse effect of people speaking poorly about your brand from an employee experience that they've had. So just a few thoughts. I agree again with Scott too. Being specific with a proposed time quickly helps them rule that time in or out as an option. They can take a look at 3:30 on Wednesday next week and say, nope, it doesn't work for me, and propose a new time. So I definitely agree with it.
Yeah. Oh, great stuff, guys. So if we're to say one thing, again, we're going to go back to one thing, how to improve this particular message. What would be the one thing, guys? I'll start with Max first.
Yeah, I hate to say, abbreviate, but condense this is the biggest piece. I think Josh Braun is consistently points out like a 65 letter or character email is like 10 times more likely to receive a response. We need to talk in sentences here as opposed to paragraphs.
Right on. Scott, what do you say?
I'll just reiterate. I think the thing that would move the needle the most is bringing up that the fact that they engaged in content in the very first line. Don't lose the fact that you recently read the article that acquired Ovo. That's a really important piece. Don't just hang your hat on the fact they engaged with content, but I would push that up.
Good points, guys. Thank you. All right. Well, there's the next one from Sierra is actually, it looks like a little bit of a cold call 2.0 style, asking for referral through the phone. So this is our first phone call to review. I'm going to leave it to you. So what do you think of this phone call, Scott?
Hi, this is Sierra Bedlow. I'm calling from Career Minds. I was hoping to connect with the individual response manager contest. Yeah, I think cold calls, upfront contracts are awesome. So, hey, this is Sierra Bedlow. I'm calling from Career Minds. I'm calling about career outplacement processes. Do you have 30 seconds for me to give you my best like dog and pony show? That's what Beck does. That's what the team at Chorus does. They have unbelievable results doing it. The upfront contract is awesome, but it's not a bad opener in my opinion.
Cool.
Yeah, I think, and maybe it's something consistent that I saw it in your previous email, but you are almost calling out your reason for outreach in the second paragraph in your previous email, the third paragraph. And I think just bumping that up, bringing it higher in the email, and like introducing the premise sooner would be incredibly helpful. But the reason why you reached out is that you noticed on their website, motto states this. It's a lower, it has a lower likelihood to trigger a response, being that it's like company related information and not specific to the person that you're speaking with. So I think if you can reach into even a junk drawer to see, where did this person go to school? Have they identified any personal hobbies or interests? Have they, like I said earlier, do they have self-attributed traits that I can pull from to try to trigger a response? Have they engaged with any content? Have they published any content or posted anything, liked anything, commented on anything? I think it's powerful. I think I would just take that second paragraph and move the premise higher in this email or call.
Right on. And then
The reason for my call is always a very powerful thing. People want to know that right away.
right. And I like what you said there, Scott, about asking permission. Can I give you my pitch for 30 seconds? Can I talk to you about what I called you for? Right. Asking permission, because you're calling them out of the blue. Right. And people like to feel like they're in control. Right.
That's an old Sandler one, upfront call.
Yeah. So here's the companion email here.
Really good. I love the second paragraph.
What's that?
The second paragraph in this is so good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a way of it's not just personalized, it's like relevant, right? I think that's what makes the second paragraph so effective.
Yeah.
It's not just the fact that she shows she's done her homework and this email is personalized. The personalization is also relevant to the product and service that she's offering, right? Good banks help protect your money. Great banks help protect you. It is clear that you as a company care about the people who support it. Therefore, I am sure you care about protecting those that work for you as well. That's the double whammy of personalization and relevance.
I think to like go off of this further, I should have said it in your last email. I was in IT staffing and professional services for 3 years before coming to Salesforce. So I placed IT professionals with Fortune 50 companies in the greater Atlanta area, Coke, Delta, Home Depot, a host of others. And so I'm kind of semi-familiar with the space. We helped when Coca-Cola started laying employees off in 2016, 2017, huge layoffs, a couple thousand people. I think to Scott's point, taking credit for some of the work that you've done in doing research would be really powerful here. If you're reaching out to a leader to say, hey, I've spoken with a few people, they were unaware of how they would be supported in the event that you guys had a layoff. Or I'd love to share with you some of what I've learned in speaking with a few of your employees around what their ideas might be or what their input might be on how they'd like to be supported in the event of an occasion like this or an event like this. People are really interested to know that. And I feel like the feedback loop is so broken in these big companies that, it's just that information isn't making its way to the top. And you might be the conduit or the vehicle for that information arriving at the doorstep of someone who can really effect change.
Love that. Right. Jeff, can we bring Sierra back up?
Yeah.
See her side of things. I'd love to get her perspective.
Yeah, just one sec. There we go. Sierra, you're back?
Yep, I think so.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. My power actually cut out in the middle of when you guys were reviewing, so I was like, can they hear me now? I don't know. Anyways, thank you guys very much for the feedback. I really appreciate it. Definitely even feedback from my team. I've been recognized for my my sequencing and talk track and is shortening, but I have great personalization. So that's definitely something that I need to work on, keeping my personalization and research effective, but shorter. So I really agree with you guys there. So that's a great takeaway for me as well. And then the call, Scott, you mentioned asking initially for 30 seconds of their time. I really like that as well. I have actually the past couple weeks, me and another teammate have been kind of bouncing ideas off of each other. And that was one that had been working for him. So that's something that I had been wanting to try with my talk track. So I really like that actually. Great.
I've had success with throwing out like just an odd number. So instead of saying like 30 seconds, just say, hey, can I give you the rundown in like 54.2 seconds? I'll make sure I keep it under that.
Okay.
And sometimes It's kind of pattern disruptor, and sometimes they do a little check on like, okay, sure, but I'm keeping you to 54.2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. So I appreciate that feedback too. And with the call too, I think Max, you had mentioned just kind of putting something personalized there, but moving up to getting to the point of why I'm calling. Like, hey, I'm calling about outplacement. So um, definitely something to take away from that too for the call. And once I think the idea behind it for what I thought when using this talk track was, I'm not always sure who's going to be managing the outplacement process. So I want to weed out anyone that probably is not involved and try to get that referral right away.
Mhm.
And make sure I'm really targeting the right individual in a personalized manner. So
Yeah, Sierra, I mean, it's really good, to be honest. And Scott, I love Scott's upfront contract. Salesforce is huge on the Sandler sales methodology. It's like beaten into everyone upon arrival. But like the upfront contract, I think could be made even stronger if you were to add on or tack on to what Scott said. Look,
Mhm.
I promise to give you all the time back that I would have taken if you're not interested or you happen to be the wrong person for me to be discussing this with.
Yeah.
And that kind of just lets their guard down. It'll increase the probability that they say, hey, you know what, I'm not the right person, but it's a meaningful impact that you're trying to have. It's positive impact on the organization and you intend to do well. So let me just go ahead and serve up someone that would be more appropriate for you to speak with.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And also, because you can't see the subject line here,
Oh,
um, I just literally gave the name, my name dropped. David Norton's office referred me to you.
Mhm.
I think being able to have somebody to call out really gets them to actually open the email, which so far, anyone that I've put in the subject line that has referred me has opened the email. Um, I've only had one person not answer, actually open it this week, which I was surprised, and hopefully she's just getting to it sometime.
yeah. So Sierra, like knowing that, it makes it even a stronger case then to just drop that. Like, I'm a big fan of getting rid of niceties and like
Uh-huh.
pleasantry. So like the hope your week is ending well. Like I never do that anymore. I used to
Okay.
a good bit. But if you're using that as your subject line, David Norton's office referred me to you,
Yep.
then you don't need to restate it with the opening line, and it'll
Okay.
allow you to cut that out and move up the kind of personalized premise
Okay.
a lot easier.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. Yeah, that's a great point too. I guess I really didn't think about that. I don't need to repeat it, but yeah, I'll take that down too. Thank
Excellent.
you.